We are discussing family financial management, how a couple can manage their money well for their own benefit and to the glory of God. And we have been especially emphasizing the issue of budgeting and why it is valuable to budget. But we've also gone on to say the kind of items that we would expect in any Christian couples. Items. Say the first thing, you must give to God's work. The second thing we said, you must allocate money for taxes, ensure you do not steal from the government. We also said that you must, of necessity, have money for use by your family. The reason God is giving you money is to meet your needs. And that's what he is saying. He is the one who meets our needs. The needs, your needs, that of your spouse and your children, must be budgeted for. Then we have gone on to say beyond that, you have money that God gives you, but it's intended for the extended family. And when I say extended family, we are looking at the families of your parents. That is your father, mother, and then your father-in-law and your mother-in-law, and the people that are born from there. But you could also extend it, as such as we do in Africa, to the children of your grandparents. That means you go to your wife's side and look at the two grandparents from the mother's side, from the father's side. Then you look at the husband's side and go to the grandparents, the parents of the grandmother, of the grandmother on the mother's side and on the father's side. That's quite a group. But all those people are people you can call a name, either cousin, like children where you meet at your grandparents are your cousins, either cousins of your wife or cousins of your husband, or your personal cousins. It means there's something when you should feel this is a mission field that God expects you to deal with. You are Jerusalem before you can go to outsiders. But then we said beyond that, you must also budget to help the poor. And we spent quite a bit of time trying to show that God did say that we always have the poor, but he also did say that we must help them. And I think that will be very important. Having done that, you must also have money for savings. In other words, you should not, with all those items in the budget, some money must remain that goes to future use. And when you say savings, it means that even if your income did not come next month, you will not become a beggar. You have put money aside that you can use. My normal recommendation to my mentees, I say, try to look at your critical expenses, because not every money you use is critical. Critical expenses are things that can help you survive. Your rent or mortgage repayment, the school fees, the food you eat, those are basics. When you put them together, how much is it per month? Try to put not less than 3 months equivalent in a liquid form where you can access it without having to sell any property. You're not talking about liquidating your investments. You're just talking about money that is easily accessible. It's not your 3 months salary. It's simply your expenses times 3. That is money you can put aside, and it means that even if you had a problem and your source of income stops, you can actually last with the basics for 3 months without any source of income. And that's something that's scripturally very, very supported. The importance of putting money aside so that you do not become a beggar. One moment you seem very rich, the next moment you are begging. It just means you are not planning, you are not budgeting. Your budget must include money, not for immediate use, but could be used in other ways. And that's something that will be important to him. Christians should be able to see the bigger picture, if you're a Christian, and identify what saving, and you save just a little money each month, it will have a long-term impact. There's what is called the multiplier effect, that if you save little, it can actually help you in a big way because it accumulates into much. As your family is growing over time, you are getting more children, and yet when you are just the two of you, you used all the money. Some of the money could be used when the children come along, or your parents are growing old and may reach a level where they cannot support themselves and have retired and they have no source of income. It is this time you are younger years that you can actually put money aside that could actually help them. Or maybe you have children at this time, and at a later time they will be in college and having expensive demands. Or maybe there's something you feel God has called you to do and you haven't started doing. It's a future adventure, and you need to prepare for it. If you want to do something suddenly and you have not thought about it over time, it will be very difficult to accumulate the money. But if you have been saving consistently, there will be money. Having savings that are built up over a long period will provide the family with a foundation that allows it to accomplish many things for God and to realize their calling. So I think it's a very important thing to see why this will be something that is important and something you should do. Savings is a tool that gives you some financial security beyond the current period. So look for different ways of savings, and see how you can do it. Things like, if you, for example, you have an insurance scheme, it also is a savings method where you buy an insurance policy to cover some future need. One of the advantage of this is it forces you to save, because once you sign the contract, you have to keep paying. If you're paying every month, you must pay. It forces you, even if you didn't want to save. And it's going to saving. And I think it's very, very, very important. Maybe the same thing with joining a savings and loans cooperative, which you have in many places in Africa. Once you sign up that you'll be your part of your salary will be going there, it forces you, because you'll not see the money. They'll go towards that. And when you have a big need, you can go to your savings and loan cooperative, and they will give you money without any collateral. Most of those savings, because the club for savers, they normally will say, since not everybody is borrowing, they can give you the money you have saved times 3 or 4 times. So you're able to do something big and deal with the crisis that has come your way. And your crisis can be many. You can be sick, and the bills go beyond your medical cover. All those are things that are important to think about. And instead of worrying, just prepare for them. And of course, you have to deal with the whole issue about trust in God. Because some people think that if you put savings aside, you are not trusting God. God is the one who has given you wisdom, and is the one who teaches about the importance of saving. Saving doesn't mean cutting down on your critical expenses. No, it means you still meet your daily expenses, and anything else you still put the money aside. And I think that that will be something that will be important for you to do. And it's something you should enjoy doing, because you see, as you do that, you are trying to remove a burden from your mind. What would I do if this happens? It's a resource Saving is a resource that empowers you by providing for you a tool you can use for your future concerns. And I think that's a very important. That's an important thing that you need to deal with. And so, what are we saying? That if you learn to save, it will give you the motivation to start thinking about the future and not just thinking about today. It also forces you to sacrifice, because as long as money is available, your expenses, your consumption will go beyond the necessary. But if you are saving and you are forcing yourself to save, it means you think, do I need this item or not? Is it really that important? Because you have a goal to save. 20% of people in most communities have nothing in savings. They just, in fact, they are in debt. They, instead of being net savers, they have borrowed so much that even what they will earn in 3 months' time is already committed. What they will earn in 2 years is still committed. That's not a very good system of working, to be in debt beyond your assets. Some people say even 45% of some communities are not prepared for the likelihood of outliving certain years. They think you'll die early. What about if the Lord blesses you and you are living long? That's why part of the reason you save is to prepare for retirement. Our older parents were of the view that all you need is to bear children. Once you have born children, then it is their responsibility. They are your pension scheme in old age. So once they have adult children, they even stop working. I don't think that's a good plan. You should prepare for your retirement yourself by starting to save in your 20s. Have a pension scheme, and these days they are private saving schemes, so that you are putting money aside when you are strong in order to use it. And that's what Joseph taught the Pharaoh and his people. There will be lean years, but those lean years will not bother you, because if you used your fat years properly, the 7 fat cows, if you use your fat years well, then your lean years will just be a walkover. The sooner you start saving for your old age, the less you have to save in the future. Because if you start saving when you are in your 20s, the complex multiplication is such that the longer you give it a chance, the more it will work like a miracle, producing money you never imagined. Maybe you are saving 1,000 shillings a month, and you are in your 20s. You retire at 60, and you start saying, wow, I now can give myself 100,000 shillings a month until I die. Wow, what an advantage of starting to save when you are young. And you see, I'll be later talking about investment. Once you save, it opens up opportunity for you to invest. Because how would you invest if you don't save? Saving is the first thing you actually do, and I think that will be an important thing that you need to think about. And I hope you start understanding how critical it is. So, what are we saying? That saving will take away worry about the future. It will give you freedom to act and to do what God has called you to do. And that savings means you can take calculated risks, because it becomes like something you are working on, and you know then that you can even leave your job and start something else, rather than feel like you are jailed to be in this work with your employer for life. So when you save, you are likely to enjoy your life more. If you have cash kept aside for emergencies, it becomes a fallback. And if you have savings set aside for discretionary expenses, it gives you freedom to act and to do things that you not otherwise have done from your normal income. And I think that is something that should make you want to actually be involved in saving. So you can't say you are managing your money well if you are not in any way involved in saving. Of course, we must remember that you do not trust in your savings. It's God's gift. Savings, the money in savings is still God's money. You must take God as the provider. We also said you must still be involved in giving before you can save. There must be money you are involved in giving. Then the savings becomes important. Why are you doing? One of the big issues about saving is it helps you to stay out of debt. It's bad to be at zero. It's much worse to be minus, to be negative. And when you are too involved in borrowing, it becomes quite an issue. And I'm not suggesting you don't borrow, but I'm saying borrow with 3 rules. Number 1, only borrow for something that can pay back itself. Don't borrow for something to eat. Food cannot give you pay back the loan. Don't borrow for consumables. Borrow for something which can multiply itself and pay back the loan itself, so that you are not using your normal regular income to pay back the loan. Number 2, before you borrow, my friend, start by assuming there is a possibility you'll be unable to pay. And you see, the reason you'll be unable to pay is not because you are bad. You could lose your job. COVID-19 could come and your business collapses. There are many reasons why you are unable to pay back a loan. You have no intention not to pay. But in the worst case scenario, what happens? If you lose, so before you take a loan, you must assume, you must do that worst case scenario. If I was unable to pay, can I cope? What will happen? Because of course they will come for your collateral. Maybe you used your land as collateral. Then you come for it. Just look at it. What will happen when your parents, because you are using their title, when they are thrown out of home? Is that something you want to go through? If you can't see yourself coping with the worst case scenario, then think twice before borrowing that kind of money. But there are many other things where when you look at it, you realize I can cope with it, even if the worst came to the worst. Like maybe you are buying a piece of land, it will be used as collateral. So if you are unable to pay, you lose the plot plus the deposit you had paid originally. My friend, it is something you can cope with, and so you see. So think clearly. Number 2, therefore think clearly about it. Number 3, is there any other way of financing the project, or must you borrow? If you answer those 3 questions before borrowing, then your borrowing will be wise borrowing, not just let me every direction. It will create problems for you. I think that's important. So stay out of debt and stick to your budget, and then stick to your budget. That will be a very, very important issue that you need to be aware of and to stick with. And you need to ask yourself, do you believe that for a Christian should ever save? Because if you don't, saving is not easy. You have more needs than are covered by your salary. So how do you save? You have to force yourself. So it's not easy. You must be convinced that saving is a biblical thing for you to actually do it. Genesis chapter 41, verse 34, 36, we read, "Let Pharaoh proceed to appoint overseers over the land," obviously, and then Joseph continues, "and keep into stores the food you are making during the years of plenty." And I think that will be important. So, it wasn't that teaching any economy and any family the importance of saving. Proverbs 13:22 is saying, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children." If you are not saving, you will not leave an inheritance. What will you leave? Your children will not even be able to cope, because in your old age, they'll be the ones using their money that they would be using in investing. Now they will use on you. And you're affected their lives negatively. Then Proverbs 21:20 is saying, "Precious treasure and all are in the wise man's dwelling." Then Proverbs 22:7, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower," what are we learning about the borrower? He is a slave to the lender. How you will not fail to be a borrower if you have not learned how to save. Then we saw in Luke chapter 14, verse 28, you must plan before you do any project. And I think that is that will be something that you need to be clear about. So I'm saying, before you can save, it will be important that you believe that the Bible talks about it. Anyway, there are many verses about money. Look at 1 Timothy 6:10. "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs." Bad financial management begins with love of money. In other words, instead of money becomes a tool, becomes a treasure. Hebrews 13:5. "Keep your life free from love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you." Matthew 6:24. "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other." You cannot serve God and money. So we need to understand clearly that we need to be driven by your calling, not by saving. Don't just save for the sake of saving. Don't just save to be rich. Save in order to accomplish a project. Proverbs 13:11, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." Again, a recommendation on saving as little as you can. Don't save when you have enough. Save even when you have little, just a little. Ecclesiastes 5:10, "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity." Then Luke 22:15, "And he said to them, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of your possessions." Never find your value in your bank account. You and your bank account are two separate things. The Bible wants us to know. 1 Timothy 6:17, "As for the rich, in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy." It's God who provides us with the income to enjoy. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share. That strong storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. When you don't tell yourself the money, you use it in a way that gives you a treasure. And Matthew 6:9, verse 19, do not lay up yourself treasures on earth, where more than rust destroy, and where the thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in to steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's why when you use your money for ministry, you know very well you are treasuring something in heaven. Proverbs 13, a good man leaves an inheritance, like we saw earlier, to his children. And for Proverbs 22:1, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. So don't look for money at any cost so that you save. No. Don't sacrifice your good name so that you actually make money. That will not be the right thing for you to do. But saving is commanded. And saving is not an investment. It's putting money such that you can reach it. What did we see as we finish Proverbs 6, in Proverbs 6, verse 8-6? Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it is taught its provision in summer and gathered its food at harvest. So an ant is able to operate during the years of scarcity because it made good use of the years of plenty. It did not just have enough to eat. It kept something aside. Now, if an ant with such a small brain can do that, do you realize if you are not saving anything, the verse seems to imply your brain may be smaller than that of an ant. And this is God's word. Proverbs 10:5, he who gathers crops in summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps during harvest is a disgraceful son. Proverbs 21:20, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. We call it MPC, marginal propensity to consume of one. Just like I'm telling you, do not have an MPS, marginal propensity to save everything. You still need to meet today's needs. Don't save without meeting today's needs. Proverbs 30, verse 24. 4 things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. There is enough emphasis on the importance of saving. So for you to be eating all your income, or when you harvest, not to put money aside that can last you until the next harvest, is not wise, is not biblically right, and as a Christian family, that is something that you need to deal with. What are you doing? Let me repeat what I've said. You don't save when you get enough. You save as a principle. Just like you don't give to God when all your needs are met. You make it a principle that certain amount of money must go into God's work. Similarly, you also make a statement that certain amount of money, percentage of money, must go into saving. And it will go there even if you really would have wanted to use it, but you have made it a principle. So when you make it a principle, like if you decide 5% of my money will go to saving, if you're earning only 10,000 shillings a month, you will only be saving 500. You'll be surprised what that 500 shillings can do if you put it aside. So you make it a principle rather than decide that you only save when you have excess. Once you make it a principle from right at the beginning, it will help you on a longer term to learn the principle and stay with it. Even when you have a lot of money, you will still be able to save. And when you save, we have seen, you give yourself latitude, freedom to act, because you will not be dependent on others. And I think that will be something that will be useful to you. And it reduces your anxiety and helps you to serve the Lord better. So I think it's something that we need to, and you have seen God's word teaches about the importance. So every family knows the importance of saving, and they need to be doing it as a way of life. I pray that that's something you will do, whichever method you use, find a way of ensuring a little of your money is going to saving.